Hello everyone and welcome to the next car profile, and as you see it's the Lexus RCF. It's not the Audi R8, and as you can probably tell by the title, that's because Christoph76874 requested a car. As I say, put your requests in and I will bump that car up the list. Now this Lexus is an FR car, GT3 car of course, based on the RCF, and it's got a V8. As it's an FR car, front engined, rear wheel drive, very similar to the Aston in terms of the way it delivers its power. It's not turbocharged and it's very stable, and this is my go-to car for beginners. So if you're a beginner to GT Sport, you want a Group 3 car to go to, pick this Lexus. So as you see on the right hand side, we actually have some very consistent times there, apart from the 130 which you can ignore. I just spanned the car. As I say in all these tests, I like to push the car to its limits in all the sectors. Even if I spin, I will then keep pushing in the other sectors, because we're after our optimal lap, not our fastest lap. I'll show you this fastest lap as we're on now, so we're on lap number 10, so the perfect time to do it, but we're after our optimal lap time. And for those with very, very, very good memories, you may remember the Alfa Romeo did a 122.2 here. The Aston Martin did a 122.6. We're already in the 0.2s here, so we're obviously very close to the Alfa, even though they're different drivetrains in terms of mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, front-engine, rear-wheel drive. It's very interesting to see, and I think because the Lexus is so stable, you can sort of push the car a little bit more. Now it does suffer from a little bit of understeer, which is expected because obviously the engine's over the front of the car. You'd expect that in the Aston as well, but the Aston's got more oversteer, so it seems to be able to turn a bit better. So this understeer helps the stability of the car, so it allows you to push on a bit more. So as I say, it's my go-to car for Group 3 for beginners if you need a car to pick. However, that's the end of brand hatch 122.6, and as you see we get a 122.214, just faster than the Alfa by 39 hundredths. That's faster by, and you can see all the sectors there, so you can see we're around about the right pace as we head towards Dragon Trail. So at Dragon Trail we're looking to test the curbs here, and also the right hander in the end of sector 2 to see its stability. As you can see, we are abusing curbs straight away, and this car is having no problems whatsoever with the curbs, which is a positive sign. It means you can actually push the car really well here. You will see parts of the understeer that I just mentioned for Brands Hatch, especially high speed understeer. So we just come through that right hander and end sector 1, 32.8. I think that goes down to a 32.7, but we'll have a look at the end anyway. Through this left hander, now you'll see the understeer on this right hander. Just see the car there, the Ghost, understeer more than I do here. Now the thing is with this car, you can use you can use higher gears because the power band seems to be lower in this car. So you know, coming up to this right hander, it's normally second gear in most cars. I do it in second gear on this fast lap, and you see I'm on the power early. Slight stability issues, but nothing compared to all the other cars. But you can do that in third, and it's even more stable. So you know, really good car to use. I do nail the chicane here, I will be honest. It's one of those perfect chicanes, and you can't always nail the chicane in this car because of that understeer that I mentioned. It's got understeer when you're going quite quickly, so you normally do have to lift off. I just nailed it there. That potentially could ruin the data a little bit. However, other cars will have perfect sectors on other tracks potentially, and therefore it sort of evens out. This is going to happen occasionally. It's happened at Dragon Trail here, but even so we come across the line 136.9, and our optimal is 136.7, which is 2 tenths quicker than the Alfa and actually 3 tenths quicker than the Aston. So this car is really showing its strength here with this balance of performance. As we head to Interlagos now, key with this car, sharp, stay tight on that left to get a good run out this right hander. The car struggles, and you'll see this here, slightly with undulations, especially going downhill because of where the engine is. But it also struggles with any bumps, sudden bumps while turning, which we'll see shortly. It's coming into this left-hander. It loves this. This is one of the cars that does this corner perfectly. In all the other cars, I've also tried the Porsche. It struggles there a little bit, putting the power down. This car seems to nail it. It's cracking. Coming into right-hander, you'll see a little bit of understeer. You see it on the Ghost. We get it here. We've done this lap early on, and I'll explain why in a second. So this corner here, so as I say, as it goes downhill in this left-hander, the weight is sort of all over the place here, and the car struggles to get the power on exit. Not sure why. I'm assuming it's the weight distribution and how the power and the weight is handled at that point, so it does struggle a little bit there. This left-hander, as I say, sudden bumps while turning really affect this car. So you see I go to half throttle. It's because of that, and due to that actually, this car is actually slower than the Alpha here. Only just, but it is slower. Which is interesting, and I think it's because of the undulations. Just struggles a little bit with the understeer, the weight moving and all that stuff, but it also struggles with that bump on that left-hander. There's a lot of time in that left-hander, and I think it does struggle there. Across the line all the same, 1:31.0, we actually get an optimal time of 1:30.874, and you can see that there. Mixture of all sorts of laps. As I say, we're after optimal as we head to Nurburgring GP. Now, I will say this, and as you can see on the right side, we've got a 1:55.1. The optimal's a 1:55.0, which is already faster than the other two cars. We're about to obliterate them. This car is stunning at this track. I could not actually believe how good this car was here, mainly because of how stable it is in Sector 1 a little bit. There's a fair bit of time here, and also the chicane. So coming through here, a lot of cars struggle with this because there's a lot of bumps, so obviously the weight gets transferred there. You just see it a little bit, but as I say, this car's stable, so you can catch that really quickly. We get a 35.7. Actually go down to a 35.6 at one point during this session, so loads of honestly, it gains loads of time in that first sector, so if you do Nurburgring GP in a Group 3 car, this might be the car for you. Obviously, we've only done 3 cars at the moment, but this is way up there. Coming into the hairpin now. Again, as I've mentioned previously, you can actually do this in 3rd gear and have really stable exit, or 2nd gear if you're really trying to push your luck a little bit. As I say, it's an NA engine, it's not turbocharged, so all that power is going to keep coming to you. And yeah, we keep plodding on towards the end of the lap. Coming to this left-hander, some cars struggle with this. Again, it's very stable. Suffers with a bit of understeer, as I say, high-end understeer. Other than that, though, because of that, actually, it's stable. Go-to car. So coming through there, you can see we're up on a lap time, down to a 1:54.899. So we're in the 54s with our optimal. No other car's done that yet. Coming up to the chicane, and because, as I say, stability, I keep banging on about this, stability in this car is so good, you can hit this chicane like amazing. Look at that, he's through there. Slight bit of oversteer just because I touched the curb a little bit wrong, but even so, we're through there and we're flying. So coming around the last corner now, we're so far up on our time. We're going to be getting a 54.7, and our optimal, unbelievably, is actually a 1:54.4, which you'll see in a second. There you go, a 1:54.4. Look at that for a laptop. Oh my word, it's obliterated everything there by 7/10 at this point. As we head towards Suzuka now. Again, Suzuka's an interesting one. Obviously Suzuka, we're testing trail braking here. Nürburgring's more of a balanced track. This is about trail braking. Stability's in there as well, of course. It's coming into here. Suffers with the high speed understeer, as I say, so the braking into there can be quite tricky. Got to be careful that you don't understeer off onto the AstroTurf there. That's very slippy, of course. We've seen that in some of the races that we've put on the channel, but you can see us really powering through this first sector, just using the throttle, no need to use the brake. Coming into here, trail braking a little bit, may suffer a little bit of understeer there, so you've got to be careful to come to the right to then go to the left. 4th gear, you just see him off the throttle a little bit. Most cars should be full at that point, can't in this because of the little bit of understeer you've got. Continuing on, 33.0, cracking first sector, to be honest. Got that a few times actually. Coming into Tidgney 2, stability again. Stability is a big issue here because it's so good. You can just fly through Tidgney 2. And we continue on, but actually down on our sector 2 time there, so it shows you how powerful it was, because the 19.1 is a good time. Into the left-hander, hairpin, got to be a bit careful, got to be a bit careful in all cars really, when you're putting that power down. There's not a huge amount of grip there, and there's a hell of a lot of power. As we head towards Spoon now. Spoon again is sort of like a trail braking, understeer, stability sort of test. So you come through here, you then want to power on as much as you can to then come back across. Just running slightly wide, but we brought it back very nicely, but we can go on full on power. Now you might remember in the other cars we struggled to get power down that early. We don't in this car, so we continue on towards the end of the lap now. Our speed trap here at Suzuka is at the cones. I am going to change that because it's we get 155 here, but on that previous lap we actually do 156, and I think all cars are hitting the air resistance at that point, which is why they're all so similar. So we are potentially going to move that, but even so we carry on through the Casio triangle and towards the line. and we're going to be on a 1:58.7, which is actually a 1:58.4 optimal time. You can see it's on various laps as well. You can see we're pretty close on all the laps, so it's all very well and good. Last sector is quite key there. As we now look at the spreadsheet, so straight to the top of the leaderboards by over 2 seconds on the Aston, by just over a second on the Alpha, so it's way up there, and it's got a power of 108, 102. I've moved some columns a little bit, so you'll see the speed trap and risk indicators at the end. You can see all the times there. Risk indicator going at 2. It really doesn't lose that much on its rear. It does occasionally with the power, as you would expect. Even if you whack traction control on 1, I think that would stop that completely. But there's loads of power in the higher gears, so you can really control the car. There's a bit of understeer, as I've mentioned, which is why it's probably so stable. And undulations and sudden bumps while turning do unsettle the car a little bit. So that's the only thing with that car. So you get a risk indicator of 2 because I think it's a perfect car for a beginner. If you're a beginner to GT Sports and you want to learn Group 3, pick that car. And as you can see, it's quite fast as well in the grand scheme of it. So we have an over 2 second gap now on this, which is surprising. I wasn't expecting to get that quick. As I've had no requests so far for cars, it is the Audi next, and if there's a request on this video, it will come after the Audi. So I hope you enjoyed that car profile. Very interesting. I'll look to see where I can change the speed trap a little bit, and I'll see you at the next one with the Audi R8 LMS.